Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Hashtag live if you're watching live. Hashtag replay if you're on replay. So I get asked this question a ton. So I thought what I'd do today is just create a video to make this whole process of losing body fat, losing weight, am I gaining muscle, am I losing fat, am I doing this, am I doing that, is what I'm doing working, etc., etc. How does this whole complicated process actually work? Why is it when I'm eating well and I'm not seeing the reflection on the scale? So hashtag me if any of that resonates with you, and those are questions that you've asked yourself and have frustrated you in the past or maybe currently. So let me alleviate some of this for you. So the whole process of losing fat, okay, losing body fat, losing the loose, stuff off our body that we just don't like, right? The fat, the body fat, the shit that we don't want on our bodies, right? The whole process of losing that is pretty complicated, but yet simple all at the same time. So there's a lot of conflicting information. There's a lot of crap out there. There's this guy on YouTube. I think his name is like V Shred or something like that. He's a moron. He has absolutely no idea what the hell he's talking about. And there's millions of people that listen to this dude. So let's make this real simple. So I really kind of put this into 4 different categories about how this really works as far as what happens internally on a cellular level when you lose body fat, okay? So, and it isn't a linear process as you're about ready to see. It doesn't just because one day you decided, okay, I'm going to eat in a caloric deficit. I'm going to start eating more protein. I'm going to start eating more vegetables. I'm going to start working out. That all of a sudden your weight is just going to fall. And it's going to consistently fall. There's going to be plateaus, but even furthermore than that, it's going to literally be like this, okay? It isn't a linear process. Unfortunately, the world doesn't work that way, and our bodies don't work that way either. So if you'll see over here, when you have body fat, okay, there's cells. They're fat cells. Okay, and inside those cells are triglycerides, or fat. Okay, and the more triglycerides in the cell, the larger the cell, more body fat you have in your body. So let's just say for a round number that this person weighs 135 pounds. Okay, so they've got fat cells that are filled with triglycerides, they've got X amount of body fat percentage, but they're trying to lose weight, but yet they are starting to change their nutrition and they want to see, why is the scale not moving? So as we move over here, when we start into that caloric deficit, because that is a requirement to lose body fat, okay, there are some complicated things as it relates to that, as it possibly could be maybe the reason why you're not losing weight is because you're eating too few calories. But for the most part, in order to decrease your body fat percentage, you've got to be in a caloric deficit. What number is that? I don't have a clue. I don't know how many people are watching this. It really depends on the person. That's literally a more complicated conversation. So what happens is you'll lose that stored fat in your cells. So these triglycerides, okay, as you go into the caloric deficit, you start eating less calories, okay, than you're actually burning, which you have a negative caloric deficit, okay, negative calories. What will end up happening is the triglycerides in those cells will then start to dissipate. Now, here's the trick, okay, you're still at 135 pounds. This is what happens, okay, and this is why people get tripped up. This is why people quit. This is why people get frustrated. It's because they're starting to do all this work and they're not seeing the fruits of their labor because they're not patient. Patience is a requirement. In fact, it's probably the number 1 requirement as it relates to anything in relation to body composition change or losing weight. You have to be patient because it's not going to work on your terms. It's going to work on your body's terms. And there's a lot of things we got to factor in. But what will happen is those cells will get refilled with water. Okay? So those cells that we talked about that were filled with triglycerides or fat, and as we start to get in that caloric deficit, those fat cells, fat storage in those cells start to dissipate, start to decrease. Your body will fill them with water. We're not entirely sure why this happens, but it does. And that's why sometimes when you're actually trying to lose weight, sometimes you end up gaining a little bit of weight, okay? It doesn't last long. Can't tell you exactly how long that is, but it does happen. And this is at the juncture where people start to quit. It's because, well, what I'm doing isn't working. Well, the reason why you quit is because you're not patient enough and you want overnight success, overnight results. Guess what, homie? Doesn't work like that, okay? Maybe this is just a way of God teaching us how to be a little bit more patient. So, as we step here to the fourth part, is this water starts to dissipate in the cell, and the cells themselves start to shrink. You don't get rid of fat cells. You got what you got, okay? But they will shrink, which means you have less body fat on your body, okay? And as you can see down here, we went from 137 to 130. So again, this is not a straight line. It is not a linear process. It literally is like this, okay? It's yo-yoing up and down, left and right, north, south, east, and west. It doesn't work the way that you want it to work, but it works the way that it's supposed to work, whatever that means, okay? So this is how this process can work if you are not seeing the results that you're wanting to see because you're in the caloric deficit. Now, here's the deal. If you are not in a caloric deficit, you're not going to lose weight. Okay? It's just not going to work that way. If you've eaten too few calories, like this whole 1,200 calorie bullshit, okay, if you're doing that and you do it for too long, guess what happens? Your body gives you the middle finger and it says, hey, listen, I'm not going to lose anything. I'm going to store everything because I don't know when I'm going to be able to eat again. So that's the reverse of the whole caloric deficit. You got to ramp the calories up, get the body used to where it needs to be, level out the hormone levels, and then boom. You can then go back into this whole process in order to lose weight. But again, this differs by the person, it differs by the gender, it differs by the age, it differs by a lot of different things. There is no one-size-fits-all plan, program, or anything that applies to literally every person. So, now, one more thing that I wanted to mention. Sometimes will happen, clients will tell me, hey, well, I must be gaining muscle. Well, you know what? You possibly could be gaining a little bit of muscle, particularly if you've never lifted weights. You start lifting weights, your body gets shocked, and all of a sudden it does build muscle quickly. But if you've been lifting weights for any length of time, you don't gain muscle overnight. It just doesn't work that way. Okay? So, again, this is more about in the cell, the way it's working with the triglycerides, they start to dissipate. Then all of a sudden your body fills it with water. Then that water starts to dissipate, and then the cells themselves start to shrink. And that's where you see this pattern of same weight, gain weight, panic button, and then all of a sudden, if we're patient enough, boom, losing 7 pounds. So, hashtag value if you found value in this video. Buff Gandhi. If there's questions, comments, concerns, whatever, drop them in the comment section. Would love to hear from you. Hope this video was helpful for you.